All right, I know this channel has basically turned into me documenting America's inevitable descent into theocratic dictatorship, and I know that that has been very depressing. Many of you have expressed to me that you need a break. You've been begging me to talk about something positive. Many of you have specifically requested an indie-only video. I'm not doing that this time, but I am happy to report that several dog-related science news stories dropped into my lap this week. So let's talk about them. Okay, first up is this study that found that, let's see here, getting a puppy is actually an awful and depressing experience, and most people probably shouldn't do it. Okay, you know what? Forget about that one. Let's go to the other one. This is a new article on the Undark that argues that the idea that owning a pet is good for you is just propaganda from Big Pet Food. Cool. Nevertheless, hey friends, this is editing Rebecca weighing in. I thought about it, and while this video is not going to be indie only, I figured I would give you just a little indie cam of what indie is up to while I'm editing this very video. So enjoy. In development and validation of the puppy blues scale measuring temporary affective disturbance resembling baby blues, published last month in NPJ Mental Health Research, Finnish psychologists developed a scale to accurately measure how miserable people are after they get a puppy. Then they applied that scale to around 2,000 people who had dogs that were at one point puppies. I mean, presumably all dogs were at some point puppies, except the Xolo, which is born ancient. But in this case, I mean, the current owner was there to experience their dog's puppyhood. They found that 45% of respondents were made significantly miserable by their puppy, with the most common effects being anxiety, frustration, and weariness in that order of prevalence. Among that group, 20.3% reported that these feelings persisted for less than a month, 31% reported a duration of 1 to 5 months, 29.5% experienced feelings lasting from half a year to a year, and 19.3% reported that these feelings endured for over a year. Okay, so first off, there's some good news here. Most people were not miserable after they got a puppy, so jot that down. That's a positive. And second of all, most of the people who were miserable were fine after 5 short months. That's nothing. Get over it, loser. Okay, real talk. You know, I've mentioned this before in my video about emotional support animals, but for those who are new here, I got Indy when I was extremely depressed and my psychiatrist prescribed him to me. Well, she prescribed a generic dog, and the dog distribution system blessed me with this weird little mutt. And he did make me miserable. He was about 3 months old when I got him. He had never been trained in any way, so he peed and pooped everywhere in my rented apartment for weeks. And then there were occasional accidents for months. And he barked whenever I left him alone, even when I turned out all the lights at night, which annoyed all of my neighbors. And he ate a door once. He just ate it. He did not do his job of just cheering me up. He caused me additional stress. And then I felt even worse because it's like, how could I not love this adorable puppy? How is it that I could just barely restrain myself from yelling at this adorable puppy? What sort of monster daydreams about yeeting an adorable puppy off of a second floor balcony? Me, a monster like me, daydreamed that. But while he didn't do what I expected him to do for my emotional state, he actually did something more important, which was keep me alive. He annoyed the shit out of me, but when I take on a responsibility, I stick to it. So instead of drinking or getting high or whatever, I was responsible. I took him on walks. I learned appropriate training techniques. I bought him a bunch of chew toys and expensive food. He forced me to be a better person to make sure that he would grow up to be a good boy. So had I been surveyed, I would definitely be in that 45% of dog owners reporting abject misery, at least for the first few months. But at the same time, you know, that only tells a part of the story. It wasn't just worth it because now Indy is a perfect boy with 0 accidents and perfect behavior who brings smiles to the faces of everyone who sees him. It was even worth it at the time. Like, did I lose my deposit for that apartment? Yes, absolutely. He ate a door. But the emotional cost and the financial cost and the psychic cost, all of it was worth it even in the moment. That said, I'm not everyone. I knew puppies were a lot of hard work, even though I underestimated how hard. And I have a very strong belief that once you adopt an animal, you are responsible for them forever. You don't just dump your problem on the street or even in a shelter outside of some catastrophic event. But there is unfortunately a real problem with people assuming they can handle a puppy and thinking that animals are disposable, which means shelters are full of perfectly normal dogs who people threw away because of the real challenge involved in taking care of them. That's true of a multitude of animals at any age, but to be honest, puppies especially, because they're just so cute, they're often bought as presents, and they are extraordinarily destructive and upsetting to the average non-dog owner's life. I mean, kittens can cause a lot of chaos, but even they potty train themselves immediately. So even though the headline's a bit of a bummer, I do appreciate this kind of research, which can help shine a light on something that most people who have had puppies already know, which is that they're hard work. And it can also give people some hope, Yeah, you're miserable now, but there's a 30% chance that you won't be in a month. There's a 50% chance you'll be totally fine in 5 months. Hang in there. That study is actually a good intro for talking about this next Undark article. While the headline prepared me to say, this is stupid, the actual article is much more reasonable because the headline implies that having a dog might not be good for you, which frankly, it's stupid. Like the puppy study, it's complicated because people are different. I honestly was shocked that only 45% of people hated their puppy for at least a few weeks. But yeah, different strokes, different experiences, different safety nets, different support systems. So yeah, dogs aren't just a general good thing for everyone. If you're allergic, if you're a clean freak, if you like to travel a lot, if you live in a small apartment, if you have a cat who is freaked out by dogs, if you just don't like dogs, there are a million things that could result in a dog being a net negative on your life. But for me and a billion other people who choose to have a dog is obviously a net positive. Obviously, Indy is good for me. If he wasn't, I would find him another home. It wouldn't be hard. I mean, look at him. So that headline really biased me against this article going in, but it turns out that all of that is basically what the writer Michael Schulson says, but he goes into some interesting detail on how that makes research into our relationship with animals so much harder. It's really difficult to study things like, do pets help us live longer? Or does owning a dog make you more physically fit? Because you can't really randomize pet ownership. That's for the cat and dog distribution systems, which are operated at a galactic level beyond human understanding. So maybe people with dogs are less depressed, or maybe people who are less depressed choose to adopt dogs. Schulson points out one type of study that actually can be randomized: dogs given to military veterans to help with their PTSD. You have all of these veterans on the list to get a dog, but you can randomize who gets one first and compare them against people who are still waiting on the list. For the record, a non-randomized study published last month found that a trained psychiatric service dog was associated with lower PTSD symptom severity, lower anxiety, and lower depression after 3 months of intervention. Okay, so what's this about this problem of big pet food funding all of the research? The scientists Schulson cites all say, yeah, there was hardly any funding for studying animal-human relationships until the industry giants stepped in, and the resulting research has actually been ethically done. They publish the good and the bad, though of course the companies themselves only go out and publicize the good stuff. And of course, if a researcher finds something negative that might reflect poorly upon a company that is funding a study, they might not get funded again, which may encourage them to find a positive result or to not study something that they suspect will return a negative result. That's the problem we have in any field when for-profit industry funds the research instead of the government doing so, which is why the government should prioritize funding a wide array of research. But nowhere in this article did anyone admit to finding any unethical practices on the part of the pet care companies or the researchers they fund. So, are pets good for us? Yes, obviously, but only if you want one, if you're educated about how to care for one, and you have the energy and the money, the resources to have one. As for me, I can't really see adopting another puppy. I own my own rugs now, and I would prefer them to be free of pee. Also, pretty attached to all of my doors. But who knows, situations change, priorities change, and maybe the dog distribution system will one day choose to bestow upon me another tiny monster. And Indy would look pretty cute snuggling with a puppy. You know what? Not even going there. No more puppies. Maybe. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. If you loved the video, please subscribe. And if you think the world could use more videos like this and you happen to have a few bucks laying around, head to patreon.com/Rebecca and join an awesome community of nerds like the people whose names you see on the screen right now. Thanks.